We're now ready to put a copy of our local website repository up on GitHub. So let's just look at our sequence here. So far we've had untracked and unstaged changes, which we used git add to stage, which are then added to the repository by git commit. And in the case where we didn't actually add a new file, but instead just made modifications to existing files, we were able to combine git add and git commit into one step with git commit-am. Now we're ready for the third step, which is to go from our local repository to the remote repository using git push. Let me log in here to my GitHub account. And now I'm going to make a new repository up here. Go to new repository. Actually, you can click this button down here too. Let's call it website, just to match the local repository name. This can differ though in general. And then let's put in the description. Because I want people to be able to see this as an example, I'll leave it as a public repository. You can also see that there's an option to initialize the repository with a README, but we'll be taking care of that by hand in the next section. So at this point, we're ready to create the repository here. And now you can see that GitHub has given us a series of commands that we should run in order to finish the initialization process. Of the three cases they list, you can see that the one that applies to us is pushing an existing repository from the command line. So these are the two steps we need to do. Just copy it here. Actually, you can see here there's a little icon that lets us copy both to the clipboard, but I want to do each command individually. You can copy. And you can see that I'm just copying and pasting. What this does is it adds GitHub as what's called a remote, git remote add, and it's a specific remote, it's the origin. But it is not important at this stage to understand what these terms mean because you're just going to copy and paste from GitHub like I am. Copying and pasting from GitHub takes care of a second issue, which is that this URL here has your username in it. In this case, my username, mhartle. This means it's impossible in general for me to type in the command that you're going to type because it depends on your username. But the command that you copy from GitHub already takes this into account. So that added GitHub as the remote origin. And now let's look at the other command. Let's copy it. Paste it in. We can connect this up with the sequence we saw before. So this is the git push step. We'll see in the next section that usually you can just type git push, but this first time when we're pushing up a repository, not having pushed it up before, we have to add a little extra. This -u means upstream. It means that in future we'll be able to type just git push, and it says set as upstream origin, which is GitHub, and we want to push up here the master branch, which is the only branch that exists now. It is not at all important to understand these details. Among other things, we'll be talking about branches later on in this tutorial. What is important is to know that this is exactly the sort of command that you're going to just copy from whichever remote repository service you use. So this is the kind of detail that you don't have to worry about at this point. Developing a sense of which kind of details you can ignore is an important component of technical sophistication. So let's do the push. And let's check it out. If we go to this page here and refresh, it should be the remote repository. And there we go. We've got our index.html file. We've got our commits. Looks like it's all there. This may not look like a big deal, but it really is, because what we've done here is we've shipped our repository. It is now available for anyone to see. It's available for collaborators. It's available for people who might be interested in hiring us. And we've practiced shipping, which is an essential and separate skill from making things. Even though it only involves a couple of steps, I recommend shipping your repositories by putting them up on a remote repository host as soon as possible when starting a new project. And then, as we'll see throughout the rest of this tutorial, it's a good idea to keep pushing up changes as the project progresses.